In 1802, the Jeffersonians abolished 18 out of 35 federal judges. Now, Jefferson and his Secretary of State, James Madison, had a reasonable amount of knowledge about the Constitution.
No.
And Madison and Hamilton had written in the Federalist Papers that if there was ever a fight between the legislative and executive branch on the one hand and the judicial branch on the other, the judicial branch would lose because it was ultimately the weaker of the three branches. There was no Supreme Court. The court is supreme over other courts. It is not supreme over the legislature or supreme over the executive. In fact, Jefferson said that would be an oligarchy. To have appointed, unelected people be supreme would eliminate democracy and create an oligarchy. So, they wipe out 18 out of 35. Now, several of the 18, they don't impeach them, they just close the offices. You're not going to get paid. There's no court. Several of them tried to file a lawsuit. And they went to the existing 17 judges who said, are you crazy? If we hear your suit, they're going to abolish our court. Now, I am not, I want to be clear here because I don't want the press to be confused. I am not advocating anything as bold as abolishing half the federal judgeships. I think we should only abolish the Ninth Circuit Court to send a signal to the others for their edification that there are limits to the degree to which you can distort and fundamentally live a life of falsehood. And if a court believes that it is unconstitutional to say one nation under God as part of the Pledge of Allegiance, that court should be abolished as no longer representative. There's a third part. We're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It actually comes out of the Scottish Enlightenment, where happiness meant wisdom and virtue, not hedonism and acquisition. But the phrase pursuit is the key to this whole thing. You'll notice, there's no right to happiness, so you can't sue if you're unhappy. There's no provision for a federal Department of Happiness. There's no suggestion that we need happiness stamps so the under-happy can be taken care of. There's no suggestion that politicians should redistribute happiness so they take from the overly happy and give to the underly happy. And this is what is explicitly, fundamentally anti-American and wrong about the Obama socialist redistribution agenda. It fundamentally goes at the heart of the American system. The American system says, and my daughter Jackie Cushman and I wrote a book called 5 Principles for a Successful Life, which we said, look, this is the heart of the American system. Dream big, work hard, learn every day, enjoy life, be true to yourself. That's fundamentally antithetical to hang out and wait because some politician will rip somebody else off and send you money. And this is why Obamaism is a direct core threat to the survival of the American system as it has grown over the last 400 years. And that's why this campaign is so important. Let me translate that directly into this fall. I think the key for September and October is to draw a clear line between job creators and job destroyers. This administration is terrific for employment if you're Egyptian. It is great for employment if you're Chinese, because it is shipping jobs out of the U.S. faster than any administration in modern time. But it is terrible for jobs if you're an American. And yet we know what creates jobs. I'd urge all of you to look at Congressman Jordan's Economic Freedom Act, which we helped develop at American Solutions, and we're very proud of it. It's 5 tax cuts, very specific. 1, a 50% reduction in Social Security and Medicare tax, both for the individual and for the employer, so that you have every small business with more liquidity, so that every person who works actually has more money to take home, so you begin to restart the economy. If you're self-employed, it's a very good reduction, and it begins to, and also will teach every American how much they're paying, which will set the stage for entitlement reform, because suddenly it won't be a blank check, it'll be real money. 2, 100% expensing for small business for all new equipment, so that they can write off every new tool in 1 year, because we want American workers to be the best equipped, most productive, most creative, and that means they ought to have the newest technology faster than anybody else in the world, and the tax code ought to encourage that kind of investment to enable our workers to compete. 3, I say to all of my liberal friends, if you would like to create jobs as fast as China, match the Chinese in capital gains. It's 0. The Chinese have no capital gains tax, just as Singapore has no capital gains tax. If we had 0 capital gains tax, we'd have a boom underway. We'd have new factories, new jobs, new entrepreneurs. 4, if you want American companies to compete in the world market, cut the corporate tax rate to the Irish level of 12.5%. Today, American companies are racing in the world, and our racer is carrying a 60-pound pack of the highest corporate tax. When you take state and local companies, state and federal combined, we pay the highest corporate tax in the world, and then we say, why do they have a hard time competing? You reduce American corporate tax to 12.5% while having 0 capital gains tax, while letting them write off new equipment in 1 year, we will compete with anybody on the planet with the most productive system in the world. Finally, we should abolish permanently the death tax, because it is a fundamentally immoral tax. Go back to the pursuit of happiness. You work hard your whole life. You're frugal. You keep your savings. You invest. You do everything right. And the left believes some politician should come in as you're dying and take away what you spent a lifetime creating. By what right does a politician define how much you get to keep of what you spent your lifetime working, and how dare they take the money from the person who worked their entire life to, in effect, redistribute it to their twin brother who didn't work his whole life? This is a fundamental question of the morality of the worker. If you will help the ticket, if you will help Sean, if you will help us win races for Senate and governor, I believe this could be one of the great decisive elections in American history. Down one road, we know where we're going. We're going towards killing jobs, maximizing unemployment, centralizing power in Washington, giving politicians the right to define our lives, creating massive debt for our children and grandchildren, and having a policy of weakness that makes America vulnerable to our enemies. Down the other road, we reassert that we are proud to be American, that we believe in the Declaration of Independence, that we're going to do everything we can to give every American their God-given rights, that we're going to get power out of Washington and out of Madison. We're going to return to citizenship at the local level, and we're going to maximize job creation, because we can compete with China and India successfully more than any other society on this planet, and we ought to get back to being Americans and do what Americans do best, which is go to work, create a better future, and give our children a safer, freer, more prosperous country. You can make that happen. I want every one of you to go home and email every person you know and ask them to help Sean. And I want you to give a little time every day from here to Election Day. There are young men and women risking their lives every day to give you the freedom to be in this campaign, and I want you to match their dedication by having every single one of you do at least one thing a day to elect Sean in the ticket. And if you do that, there are enough people in this room that will win decisively, and America will have a better future. Thank you. Good luck.